because it's a story that I wrote. It is featured on Newsbreak. Unmasking police heinous violence, a silent epidemic. If someone were to suggest that there was a problem with violence and predators among U.S. law enforcement, then there should be ample proof. However, not much proof is needed from the start, since it was actually police officers who admitted that there was such an issue. The International Association of Police Chiefs has admitted to the problem. They have. There's their whole slideshow there, their whole PDF document there, addressing misconduct of a heinous nature by law enforcement. Why would you need to actually make an executive guide like this if it wasn't a serious problem? Can anyone answer that question for me? Don't you find that fascinating? Why would you need that whole executive guide? Wouldn't you just arrest the suspect, even if they are a cop, like you would arrest anybody else? Why would you need a guide to tell you how bad it is? Perhaps the reason why you need guides is because law enforcement agencies across the states and even across the world deny the severity of the problem. So you have to publish guides so as to make people aware, as if they weren't already aware of this in law enforcement. You have to tell cops you got a lot of predators among you, as if these cops aren't already aware of these predators and actively protecting them. See, in this article here, I mentioned about how on March 14th, 2024, the Washington Post published an article. A police officer took a teen to go get a kit done because she had been assaulted, and then he assaulted her too. Story about Rodney Vicknair. And they were speaking about how often law enforcement officers are predators. And apparently, it's very often, and I even pulled from a study by Oxford Academic. This is published at the beginning of 2024. And in that study, it mentions all the victimization that happens via police officers, all the predators. And in this study, there is a study about police women as victims of assault of their male perpetrators who violate them. And I made sure to note that what that study demonstrated is that just having more female officers doesn't appear to stop the trend of predators in law enforcement. In fact, many of the victims of predators in law enforcement are female officers themselves. The ACLU did a call to action about this. In 2021, the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reported that at least one U.S. police officer was accused of grape every week. Newsweek published an article that was titled, "Why Cops Get Away with Grape," with essaying people. The title isn't proposing a question. It's just explaining. It's not asking a question. It's just explaining something to you. Don't you find that interesting? I spoke about Daniel Holtzclaw and about how the media in that case would ignore the victims of Daniel Holtzclaw because many of them were black women. You had the case of Wooly Ollie Alexander. He got 10 years probation even though he was proven to have essayed a woman while on duty. 10 years probation. He worked for the El Paso Police Department in Texas. 10 years probation. I spoke about the Rockford police detective in Illinois named Joshua Grover. Joshua Grover got 6 months for having CP. Just 6 months. That's it. I mentioned a study about To Serve and Pursue, about how law enforcement officers so often essay women. I'm going to put this over here. To Serve and Pursue. It is featured on the Department of Justice main website. I want you guys to see this. So I want you to see how long the U.S. government was aware of the problems with predators in law enforcement. I want you to see how long this has been going on. I'm going to go over to a Google search tab real quick because I want you guys to see how long this has been going on. So I'm just pasting the same name of the study. And what I want to do is come down to this third result here. Third result is a U.S. Department of Justice Office of Justice Programs, right? The same study is available on their website. There's even an acronym for police officers who are predators. PSV, or Police Sexual Violence. PSV, which means that acronym has existed for at least 25 years, and our government was aware of it. These are the kind of things I try to inform people of, but the things that people argue with me against. And as you can see, I went into heavy detail. This article is available on Newsbreak, and it's also available on Medium. I also published it on Medium because I wanted to have it maximally exposed, and it's been getting some pretty good reviews so far. I even mentioned Roger Golubsky. Roger Golubsky is out of Kansas City, who was essaying innocent black women. And do you know how we discovered this? We discovered this because of Jay-Z and Team Rock Nation. They were interviewing a person who was locked up, and they discovered a police lieutenant framed an innocent black man for a crime that he never committed because his mother refused to engage in non-consent activities with Roger Golubsky. So Roger Golubsky framed her son because she wouldn't give him what he wanted. Jay-Z and Rock Nation had to sue. Hear this part here. Gillespie was known in the local Kansas City area to intentionally target black women and poor women for SA, to target them, to prey on them. This fits into the data and explanations given from studies about police who are predators. Victims didn't bother coming forward after other victims were already ignored, ridiculed, or made to look mentally ill. This man is accused of kidnapping, coercing, and essaying numerous women over a period of years, which probably means someone said something but was ignored, since this man is only recently facing justice. And we now know he's out on bond, and he's out there at a fast food joint right now. He's out there having a burger and smiling, man. Do you think that's fair? I gave the screenshot from the study that I showed earlier, but I even mentioned about how the media sometimes manipulate things and lies, right? So on March 23rd, 2024, Fox 19 in Ohio reported that a school resource officer was arrested for having an inappropriate relationship with an 18-year-old. The article's title and heading would have a reader believe that this poor officer is being prosecuted for dating an 18-year-old, which many Americans would somehow try to justify. Yet, if you know the background of the story, you know that the relationship began when the victim was just 16 years old, which no school resource officer is supposed to be dating a 16-year-old. So Fox 19, their article title is School Resource Officer Arrested After Having Relationship with 18-year-old. Here's a picture of the school resource officer, Mason Williams, right? And I want you to see, because I actually archived this. I actually called them and I told them about their dishonesty, right? But I archived this, right? I archived the article that they did because I want you to see the article's title and see how deceptive it is. 18-year-old student. Is that honestly what happened? Or was she 16 and the relationship continued until she was 18? Is that the honest truth? So when I did my little hyperlink there, I said, click here for a link to the Fox 19 article. And the link is archived so that Fox 19 can stand behind their professional work. Oh, I was very snarky in this. Very snarky. I mentioned about how I got into some of the stats. The stats are wild. And I even mentioned about how the Boy Scouts were actually bringing in police officers, thinking that the police officers wouldn't be predators. There's a lot of scout leaders who are predators. I mentioned two cases. You have Aaron Robinson here, scout leaders who are predators who are also police officers. So this guy, Aaron Robinson, was a police officer, but also a scout leader, but also he preyed on boys. You had this guy here, Ronald Rawcliffe, who did the exact same thing. You had a lot of examples, but I pulled those examples because I want to show you how prevalent the case is. So make sure you guys go back and read these articles and check them out in their entirety, because I really went in deep here, and I really provided you with the facts and the evidence here, man. I left no stone unturned.